motivation, to get through the day. Just tune in, cause we'll make a way. Positivity. So if you need empowerment to make a change, just start with today. And tune into Pancake Monday. Pancake Monday with Pastor OJS. OJS. Oh yes. Oh yes. Pancake Monday. Pancake Monday with Pastor OJS. OJS. Oh yes.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Man Cave Monday. I hope that you're doing well, you and your families and everybody in your immediate circle. I hope you're pushing through. Hope that you're doing well. But thank you for connecting with me on tonight. And I am so excited because we have yet another special guest here in the cave. I feel like I have known this woman all my life. She's like a sister from another mister. I know birthday twins, somewhere along the line, we were kin. I know we are. Just such a kindred spirit. But she is well known throughout our community here locally. But certainly the Lord is placing her in spaces that she has not even imagined yet. Her name is Christic Henry, community advocate, CEO, all around just bomb dope person. And I'm welcoming her to the Man Cave tonight. How you feel, sis?
In the Man Cave. You gotta be somebody special to be in the Man Cave.
I'm honored to have you. As busy as you are, as involved as you are, I'm excited to have you here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here on your platform, sir.
Hey, you have so much to offer, and we're going to jump into it tonight. And for those of you who are still connecting even now, make sure that you like this conversation. Make sure that you share it. We welcome your comments, of course, but make sure you share it because people will pick this up tomorrow. They'll pick it up next week. This will be posted on our YouTube channel later on. So please, 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 we're trying to empower the community. We're trying to help the culture. We're trying to empower anybody that connects. So it would do me a great. Christic, I got like 20 followers on YouTube, man. I'm blowing up. Like this platform is like eyes have not seen. So y'all go ahead and do that for me. Y'all know her. She needs no introduction, but we're going to talk a little bit about even her background for the benefit of those that may not know her. But you are originally from Polk County, Florida. Lakeland.
Yes,
tell us about your background. Then we're gonna jump into some other issues.
So I was born in Detroit, Michigan. So I spent the first 5-6 years of my life in Detroit. And then my mother and father, who were from Polk County, moved us back to Polk County when it started getting kind of dicey up there in Detroit. And so I identify as a resident, as a native of Lakeland, because that's where I developed, that's where I spent my formative years, that's where I got my twang. That's where I developed my languages, that's where I learned the church rubric, that's how I learned how to interact with the elders, and Lakeland is where I was taught how socially to exist. So I claim Lakeland, Florida as home. I am one of the middle child of 5 kids. Currently, I had 6 siblings, one passed away, God bless her soul. And I have 5 brothers and sisters, full brothers and sisters that live all across the nation in different places. And I am married to the most wonderful resident native of Tallahassee, Christic Henry.
Yes, sir.
Who is the entrepreneur spirit of the home. I'm more of the community bug, political, savant mindset person in the family, but he definitely has a rich history of entrepreneurship. His family is an old family here in Tallahassee. His granddad was a landscaper, one of the first Black landscapers here in the area that was really into high enterprise, engaged with a lot of people on different levels through his profession. And Carlos is a contractor here locally, and he and I both own Kingdom First Realty, which is a full service independent real estate brokerage. But for me, my story is I came here to FSU to attend school, Florida State University. Of course, found myself across the tracks, working at Bond Elementary School as an AmeriCorps volunteer. It was the best thing that could have ever happened to me in my life. I learned Tallahassee through the eyes of Southside. And
was that under Dr. Pam Hightower's leadership at the time?
That was actually Miss Carolyn. Miss Carolyn. Lord forgive me. Miss Carolyn was the principal there. She was she was handicapped. She didn't have legs. She was in a wheelchair, and was the principal of that school. And she just inspired me because I was like, if that lady can run a whole elementary school in this community, basically with no legs, you could do anything. And she was so excellent, and the children loved her, and she loved those kids. And, I just watched that example, but I'm so sad how the community itself loved those kids. So back when I was at Bond, they had, the preschool, breakfast where kids came and ate breakfast in the morning. Then they went to class, and then they went to after school over at Smith Williams, where I would work with AmeriCorps until about 5 o'clock. Then they had the after school program where they went back to school and they had dinner and they engaged in homework. So that, for the most part, the community held those kids almost till their bedtime. So a lot of the kids that I know came up during my time, they were pretty much raised by community, and you saw community take it serious. And a lot of those advocates, people classified them as strong. They classified them as, whatever they did, but they understood what was at stake. They had a whole community of children that they were trying to nourish. They were trying to, get from point A to point B socially, emotionally, educationally, economically. And those women and men that I saw working in those fields, the Edwina Stevens and my Lord have mercy, I can't even think right now. Yeah. All of the ladies in those communities, Miss Manning, Eva Manning, all of those women in those communities.
Yeah.
Those were their kids. Those were their babies. They understood what was at stake. They were educators. They knew what the trajectory of those children were if they didn't intervene. And so, the soul of Southside really is that, right? We understand what it means to be able to make impact on the human level, because that benefits the whole trajectory socially, economically of the whole community. And that's the spirit of this community I was able to learn from. And so since then, I have kind of that tunnel vision that they had. Look, if it don't make impact, it don't make sense. Yeah. And that's where, that was my training ground. And so got married to Carlos. We made Tallahassee our home. We opened up a real estate brokerage. And then when I got into real estate is where I really saw it. It's
the disparity.
Woo, bruh, when I got into real estate, it made everything else make sense, right? Because you see how it all plays out. Yeah. And you see why there's such a wealth gap in our community. And everything ain't always racial. I mean, it may have racial roots, but some things are economic, some things are just trained systemic, right? And unfortunately, the lot has fallen to us in terms of disproportionately impacting communities of color or Black communities, majority Black communities. But, people got to see that when you're trying to send your child to school and you don't have the equity in your home to do that, when you're trying to send your kid on an educational trip and you don't have the equity in your home to do that, when you're trying to start another business for your kids so they can have resources and you can't because you don't have no equity in your home, you don't have time to play with regressivism when you see it from that perspective, because that's when it hits you in the pocket. And so, the majority of my activism has been with that in mind, that we have to raise up the economic viability of the community so we can raise the human possibilities of the community.
Wow. Normally when I do these interviews, I try to pull certain things out of people, but I mean, you just giving it to us today, without any prompt or anything. So this is not going to be hard at all. We're in this man cave space talking to Christic Henry. She is a community advocate. She's a builder. She is passionate about the people. And I think that's the word that resonates in my heart right now, is passion. Because whether you live in Detroit or Newark or Atlanta or Lakeland or Tallahassee or Miami, Dallas, Los Angeles, I believe your passion will carry you to the exact place where your assignment is. So, for me, it doesn't matter where I've lived, and I've lived in 3 different cities. I grew up in New Jersey. I was, raised as a young adult in Atlanta, and then arrived here 17 years ago in the Tallahassee metro area. I've always been drawn to the least of these, the community, the less fortunate, so to speak, the people who are experiencing homelessness, those who are hungry. And then God gave me a gift to be able to reach them and minister to them and help elevate them as well. And so I see that, and I'm hearing that in you. You just drawn to those corners. Everywhere I see you in town, it's always where the need is. I don't see you too much on the top of the mountain with, the mountain dwellers, the people, and you know what vibe I'm talking about. People who just hang in the upper echelons because that's where they're most comfortable. I'm most comfortable with my people. I'm most comfortable with those who are real and authentic and genuine and who want a chance, to advance. And those kind of people are needed. It's not glamorous. You can speak to that. It's not rewarding at times in the tangible ways that we would like. Ain't no money in community advocacy, and I don't know why people think that, people getting rich off of this. This is a lot of sacrifice. I know the pancake breakfasts that you do in the community, and I know that a lot of times you out of pocket with that. You come out of your own pocket and your own family resources, and you solicit, community helpers to do it. But just talk to me more about your passion, and then we're going to get to some specific issues that need to be addressed in our town.
Well, I will tell you this. I think that, I have to go back to, my time at FSU. I think sometimes we have to be very intentional about teaching our young people and our young adults how to not remain in their ivory tower of saviorism. Because at the end of the day, we have to be okay with who we are. It's the folks that's okay with who they are that are out there in the trenches. You get what I'm saying? They don't have identity. They haven't, they can eat with the least and with the great. They can translate in between, right? And I think we all have to be able to do that. I've learned from the ex-felon that I've been side by side flipping pancakes and cooking sausage with. I've learned from, the former city manager who is a tremendous mentor for me.
Yes.
And I think that you have to give dignity in both of those spaces in order to have a full. So I can't come too much from one place and I can't come too much from the other, because you've got to be able to find the middle ground. And I think that for me, my passion lies in the middle, because for 2 reasons. The first thing is that I don't think that there should be winners and losers. I don't think that there has to be winners and losers. I think we play this game of politics, locally, and I'm gonna get a little bit into my Christicisms in a minute. I don't think that we have to have winners and losers. I don't think that we have to use division in order to push our agenda. I don't think that we have to, get all in the balls and weeds of people mama and they churn. And I just think that the way that we govern yields our outcomes. And if we continue to feed into this divisiveness, feed into this elitism, feed into, this sense of I'm disconnected to you, because I'm not. Right. I'm not disconnected from what I would call the least of these. I'm not disconnected, because those same folks are the ones when I'm walking my dog, they're looking out for me. They're making sure nobody bothers with me. Right. And so there has to be understanding that, I'm all right with who I am. I'm all right with my country roots, my hood roots. Right. I'm all right with my institutional university degree holding roots.
Both and not either or.
It's not an either or. And I think that because we get so caught up on titles and positioning and I'm going to be this great person, that we forget to do great things. And that's like just reaching each other. That's making sure that we're looking out for the least of these, that we understand homelessness for real, right? We're not just doing stuff for homeless people. We understand homelessness. We understand what creates homelessness. We understand what creates substance abuse. We understand what creates dope havens. We understand what creates survivalism in our community. And we're not working from this space of, I'm coming to save you. No, baby, I'm coming to empower you.
Right.
I'm coming to tell you, if you do this, I will hype you all the way to your transformation, to your catalytic change. And that's the attitude of true community change, is understanding your place in someone else's journey and not coming to be their savior. You are their step. And when they make that step, they're able to embolden themselves to make that change themselves. Because if you don't, it's not sustainable. So hopefully, you know, we can begin this process of bringing dignity into all spaces and practicing equity in the way that God has ordained.
Well, tell me what you think about this, because you're sparking all sorts of memories and just powerful what you're saying right now. Every year, at least once a year, I go and minister in Freeport, Bahamas. Now, for those that know anything about the Bahamas, you understand there's Nassau, you know, come take a cruise here, and then there's everywhere else. And so Freeport is the poorest part of the Bahamas. But what I learned down there, what I continue to learn, and shouts out to Pastor Simeon Oughton and his wife, Nicole, and the New Life Church there. What I learned is that they are not plagued with the disease of capitalism in the way that we are in America. They have a sense of community where even the idea of borrowing money is foreign to them. My friend, Pastor Oughton, he always jokes. He's like, what's that y'all got up there? A car note? What is a car note? We don't know a mortgage. We don't have mortgage, because the houses that they live in, the community built them. So if he's a general contractor of sorts, or he knows where to get, you know, blueprints done, or if he does them himself, the members of the community help build each other's houses. So you don't have to worry about permits. You don't have to worry about paying money to this and that entity within your local government to get stuff approved. They build each other. You know, they don't buy $80,000 vehicles. You know, our used cars get sent over there. The island ain't but so big, so they ain't putting 30,000 miles on a car in a lifetime. So for them, capitalism, you know, is not as rampant as it is in America. And I say that in response to what you said, because it was in America that we learned to be so competitive and not community minded. It was in America that we were taught the ways of our slave masters to hold certain people down so that we could raise up. So as soon as we got free, we figured we would get something and our neighbor becomes our competition. That's not African centered. You know, those of us who are of African descent, everybody's from Africa originally. That's not who we are as a people. But we learned that in America from our slave masters. And so I think if we can have that transformation of mindset to where I understand that your success is my success. I'm not comfortable until you have risen out of your situation. I'm not your savior. I'm not someone doing charity work here. This is my life duty. I can't be totally comfortable with my sister or my brother being broken in any way. So it's my job to get you to wholeness. What you think about that whole spiel?
It's a balance. I think that capitalism is not the enemy. I think human nature is the enemy. I think that you have a system, right? You got a system that works. And then when you introduce human mechanic to it, we're broken. You know, the gospel talks about our brokenness. It talks about our sin. It talks about our warped sense of being, you know, as humans. And that's the whole reason that we need a savior. That's the whole reason why Christ is the effectual work of Christ is necessary, because there's a recognition that there's a problem with my nature. Yes. It's prone to do something that's against nature, right? And so the system, I don't believe, is entirely the issue. I think the human mechanics of how we utilize it are the issue. One thing I love about my people, and one thing I love about all people, is that we have managed from the times of aristocracy through the times of, Confederacy, and now to the times of, the Republic as it currently stands, we have managed to, even in its thinnest form, to maintain some sense of continuity in terms of an understanding. Now, have we seen that understanding be regressive in the last 30, 40 years? It has. I think a lot of that has to do, and this is not popular to say, but integration took a lot from the community.
Agreed.
Integration took identity from the community.
Agreed.
The churches in our community offered a system of understanding. It was more than just coming to worship and learning the hymn and being in the choir. It offered a system of community that you could rely on, that you had access to. And even when you found yourself operating outside of, right, there still was that sense of you had that mother or that elder, that somebody that was there to guide you along the way and to restore you. Like what they say, we're restoring each other in the spirit of meekness, right? And so that whole way of life, just kind of has regressed. And what you've seen replace it is kind of this, pseudo form, right? Trying to recapture. You see the Bloods and the Crips evolving, not to beat and to kill each other, but to serve the community.
Yep.
Because of the regressive nature, right? Of the glue of the community. Then you see other groups rising to prominence, right? Utilizing the consensus and the consent of the people to build power unto themselves, only to abuse it, right? And not to bring any return on investment to the community. And so I think for me, what I am seeing, and I'm not saying all efforts are bad, I just think that we need to see things at face value and understand where we've gone astray. And we need the men in the cave. We need the men in the pulpits. We need the men in the community to work alongside the sisters that are holding it down to regain the grip back in our communities. Because one thing I hear from the former crackhead all the way up to the former political officials is that we're not going to be able to prison or jail ourselves out of the situation that we're in. We can't arrest enough people to bring peace and resolve these issues. There's got to be a impactful approach to this. But what I know is that I'm gonna sell drugs if I can't get no job. I'm gonna sell drugs if I don't have no skills. I'm gonna sell because I know that. I'm gonna do what I know to feed my family.
Right.
You feel me? And for me, I don't agree with it, but I'm okay. I understand that sometimes just because you don't agree don't mean you don't see. Just because you don't, let me say that again. Just because you don't agree don't mean you don't see. All right? We're not validating stuff in this space. What we're doing is telling it like it is. If somebody can't get a job where they can make 15, 20, they can make a decent living, where they don't have to,
right,
do what they're doing.
And what happens if I've done time and now that I've been released, I got this felony mark on me, I can't get hired at a place that will pay me a livable wage. So I'm right back to what I know.
Listen, I don't know how real we can make it. It ain't rocket science. Shout out to all the brothers with the car washes. They trying to do it right. Shout out to all the brothers with the food truck. They trying to do it right. They don't have anywhere else to go. So what is it that we have to do on the community level? Well, if they got 20 cars lining up to get their car washed, but they don't have enough capital to get the right equipment to offer a greater and better service, guess what we need to do?
Yeah.
Figure that out.
If
they have a food truck and they selling out in 2 hours because they food good, we need to figure out, okay, where are the systems in terms of making sure the health is where it needs to be at, the cleanliness, the sanitation, so it's safe for the folks.
Yeah.
Then we need to figure out how to get them in a situation where they are learning how to expand, reach, and build their businesses. Because you're right. If I can't get it over here, I'm going to get it over here. And that's a real conversation. And so when you talk about homelessness, right, which is let's just be honest, that's the bottom of the barrel. Nobody I know wants to be homeless.
Right.
No person I know that's cognitively, right, straight, wants to be homeless. They don't want to be in a situation where they don't have nowhere to stay. They don't. And I think that when we lend dignity to these conversations and we don't start with we don't start with the facial expressions and start with the stuff, right? then we can listen to people and figure out where they at, and we can be a step. We can empower them. And there are some that are selectively homeless. They gonna be homeless. They gonna be homeless. They want to be homeless. They done with society. This is what they know. This is what they is. All right, and we got to deal with that too. Let's stop romanticizing homelessness in this community. Let's stop acting like it's the red herring. It's not a red herring. It's not rocket science. People with dignity don't want to be homeless. How do we flip that script? People who have substance abuse issues and disconnected issues, they would rather be in a space they know than operate in a space they're not a certain in. We need to stop romanticizing this problem and figuring out on the people level what folk need, and then moving forward from there. You do a tremendous job of just providing temporary, short-term connectivity. All right? That's a blessing. Because I'm sure you have hooked up with people who are in transient situations who just need a step. And you calling people, you trying to figure out who they got to contact, who got somewhere for them to stay till they get their 3 or 4 kids in, so they can have somewhere to live until they can get their stuff right. We romanticize this stuff and make it way more complicated than it kind of already is. And so I just really want to encourage people as they're listening, and I come across a certain kind of way, and I please charge it to my head and not my heart. I just really want us to move forward on solutions and stop fighting each other on morale, because that's not where the solution is. We can't keep romanticizing and holding stuff over each other's head. We'll never get to resolution and solution that way.
Well, you're speaking to part of the next chapter of my life's work. You mentioned restoration in the spirit of meekness. You talking about Galatians 6. That is my whole dissertation project for my doctoral work, because I'm creating, or I'm praying to create, a literal program or an initiative that churches can use to restore so-called fallen people. Because we don't know what to do with folk when they messed up, because we're on the morality side of things. And so even though every last one of our members got issues, whether they're public or not, every last person has fallen in some way, but the church don't know what to do with it. See, we grew up in a time, you and I, when they would make the pregnant teenager stand up in front of the church and apologize. But that was it. Nothing said about the father, nothing said about caring for that young lady to make sure that she and her family have what they need emotionally. They have what they need as far as her continuing education, finishing, making a life for herself. All we did was shame her, make her get up there and make her feel bad for not living holy. And so I want to create a mechanism that literally empowers and instructs people and instructs the church to be a mechanism of healing. What do you do with that brother or sister once they've been released from the pen? Because you say the church is open to everybody. So once they come, what are you going to do with them? Because they need more than just a hug and a handshake. They need tools, because if they don't get tools, they're going to go right back to their weapons. And their weapons is what they've been surviving on. So I thank you just for giving even more voice to that and giving me even more language to use in that regard. I think as we shift towards what's been going on the last 2 years, as tragic as the pandemic has been, with almost 700,000 lives lost, I believe in a all things work together for good kind of way, that a lot of good has come out of this, because, as you mentioned, the car wash, the barbecue, the food stand, people have become more creative in this season. People have developed entrepreneurial spirits in this season. I thank God, and I ain't talking about no PPE loans either. I'm talking about people using their God-given gifts to just step out on faith and finally do, because jobs have been laying people off, systems have shut down, offices have shifted. And so now folks have been forced to consider, what else can I do? What else can I create? And I think this pandemic space has forced us into that. And in that vein, I'm grateful for it.
Well, two things. The first thing is that there's now not enough people for all the jobs that are out there. So they're making concentrated efforts to try to get people back into work, because businesses, instead of being shut down because of the pandemic, are being shut down because of HR issues. They don't have people to work. I know I go to restaurant after restaurant where they tell us we only got 2 servers, so it's going to be 20 minutes before we can get you. And that's an HR issue. And so there's that. And then, there's just the sense that, and I'm gonna put my hands on it in a minute, but there's just this sense that people know that there's something else around them. Like there's something else, like something has shifted substantially. And I think that this uncertainty feeds into a lot of the need to become kind of self-contained, kind of self-employed, self-contained, and not wanting to be, kind of at the mercy of a pandemic, at the mercy of, economic issues.
Right.
We can't keep the train moving like it's going to move. So there's going to be an economic event that happens. Let's just know that. All right. As a community, let's just understand that the economic event is around the corner. How impactful it's going to be, what sector it hits first, I don't know.
Now, is this something you're seeing in the spirit realm? Because I know you're a prophetess on the side. Are you seeing this in the spirit? Or are you saying that there is something, that's out here already towards like the housing crisis that could have been forecasted 10 years ago? Are you seeing something out here?
Well, I mean, it ain't in the spirit. If you look at the rate of inflation and you look at the rate of debt and you look at how much debt that people are carrying individually, you look at the ticking time bomb of student loans and the debt to the country, and back that against the trillions now above that have been borrowed nationally, that something's gonna trip at some point. There's no absolving this easily. There's gonna have the reset button gonna have to be pressed somewhere. Yes. And so I think that what we have to do as people is we have to become survival minded. We have to have some type of plan to be able to make it through whatever it is that can be made through. And the thing that concerns me the most is that, who's been disproportionately impacted by many of these economic events? It's been, 80 and below income. It's been people who are more vulnerable anyway, right? But when you talk about these pension funds that are being held by Social Security, you talk about these annuities being held by these major corporations, an economic event that transfers wealth out of that ain't gonna just hit those folks. It's gonna hit your higher echelon folks, your long-term annuity holding, stock having them folks.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you start seeing rich people lose their wealth, you're gonna start seeing some mess. Yeah. And so that's why I think that, the best thing we can do as a nation as we wade through this pandemic, and what I hope to see from leadership on all levels, is to stop with this division, stop with all of this unnecessary catfighting over stuff that don't really matter. I mean, it's something, but it ain't like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You're looking at your citizens. Not saying that all of the issues of the day with the coronavirus, those things are important. We're making strides. There's access equity. People can get a shot, they can get a test, they can go anywhere to get what they need for COVID in this nation for free right now. Right? We're doing that. But now we want to be divided over, black and white. We want to be divided over vax and non-vax. We want to be divided over masks and over. Division is our enemy. We won't make it. We will not, even in the city, with all of the stuff that's happened with the ethics and with the panning out with the stuff with the trials. It's all feeding into this whole divisiveness that whose role is really to control. You can say you wanna sweep corruption out of City Hall all you want, but how are you doing it? Are you doing it in a way that brings unity, or are you using division in order to get your power and your point across? Right. That to me speaks volumes. And I'm not indicting anyone, because people have their way they do stuff. But remember, I'm one of the ones that believe how you run and how you run and how you govern is synonymous. Yep. And if you're leading people space and you're focused on the one thing and you're not focused on equity in space in terms of contracting opportunities for Black and brown communities. You're not concentrating on creating economic models that bring opportunity communities that are vulnerable, annually, perennially, they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you don't have a plan. You don't even have a conversation. And those are things that I give the side eye for, because there's such tremendous resource to have the conversations that lead to the opportunity. There's been some steps forward, but we got to always understand, and I'll end with this, Pastor. We have to demand more of our leadership. We got to hold them accountable for more than just our opinion. We got to hold them accountable for governing in the way that is prescribed to be governed, for empowering people in the way that they need to be empowered to be able to do in their communities, or to help, or to resource, or to do whatever needs to be done to lift community. And we've got to be able, we have tremendous folks that have great hearts for Tallahassee. I want to see impact come from those hearts. I want to see decisive impact. I want to see people owning homes. I want to see people owning commercial buildings. I want to see people, taking up space in ways that bring value to the community. I want to see ex-offenders involved in cooperative models and getting career training and doing all of these things. And they're happening on micro levels. But there's a way to be able to bridge this, and let's lift up those examples that are doing good work, the tempos and the, all of the other efforts on the grassroots and community and government level that are trying to do the work. Let's focus on that stuff. Let's focus on that stuff.
Think on these things.
Let's focus on that. I don't have time to be worried about something somebody done did that they knew they had no business doing. Now the consequences have come. All right, let's move on. Okay, the rules are there. The government is there. Let's not use this as an occasion to exert our own will based upon our own agenda. Let's move this community forward and see people have great impact from efforts that are done on all levels, and bring everybody together.
Yeah.
Not just the people that believe what you believe, not just the people that understand how you understand.
Right.
Bring everybody together. And if you're in a position of authority and you don't know how to bring people together, you might not need people.
She is Christic Henry, community advocate and a fighter for the freedom of God's people and all people, for that matter. Shifting towards a very local initiative that's tied to a greater issue. Let's talk about this bus hub, this transportation hub that we will have and that we will fight to have on the South Side. Transportation itself is an issue. Access, I should say, to safe spaces in terms of transport and just the safety of the community members. Talk to us about the importance of that. First of all, give people some background on the issue itself and what's going on behind the scenes, what has been voted on, what funds have been allocated, and what should we be expecting in our community.
Certainly. So I am really excited about this project. Back in 2013, I was selected by Blueprint as their chair to participate on the Leon County Sales Tax Referendum Committee under the leadership of Steve Evans. And, it was a process basically that we went through to appropriate almost $1 billion in tax revenue over the next 20 years to infrastructure and capital investments to move our community forward. And so myself, Terrence Henson, now City Commissioner Curtis Richardson, lots of community leaders that, are from the South Side that people know, advocated side by side. In some spaces we couldn't talk because of Sunshine Law, but we all had this is what was powerful. We all had an understanding of what projects would bring value to our community. And so the ones that brought value to our community, like this Star Metro Transit Center, this Southside Transit Center. This was one of 5 transit centers that were on the docket for consideration. And there had been a reduction in accessibility in the community due to some reconfiguration of the bus system at that time. The city was working through it. They were being extremely, extremely conscientious about how those changes were impacting residents and citizens. But at the end of the day, it changed the way transportation happened in Tallahassee. And so this transit center gives us, along with other incremental things that they've been doing over the past 10 years, gives us an opportunity to reinstitute some of that accessibility within the neighborhood context. And unless you have seen and caught the bus, I caught the bus for years. I caught the bus from everywhere I lived in Tallahassee up until I got grown enough to get a car. And so I depended on public transit. If the bus wasn't out there, I had neighbors that knew that me and my sister then were going to come catch the bus. And then when I was leaving Bond every day, I had a lady on Campbell and Saxon that knew I caught the bus at that stop every day. And if I wasn't there, she would come out and tell the man, I know she's coming because she came to work today. Wait about 5 minutes. So when you talk about dependency on public transit, myself and many others understand what it is to need to have a stop where you at in the community, not walking down the street 10 minutes to get to a headway or get to a main thoroughfare. I say that to say that this Southside Transit Center is so relevant and so appropriate for our side of town. Lock that into the fact that now we're in a digital space where people go online, and public transit is a huge value add item to a community. You actually get rated on your community's walkability and your community's accessibility to multimodal transportation. And that includes bike paths, walk paths, public transportation, any type of way for you to get to and from within the community. You actually have a score in your community for that. And so our community as a whole is, in the South, we like to drive our cars. But for some of our most vulnerable citizens, they depend on public transit. And if you haven't seen your neighbors sitting on a bus stop when it's raining, or you haven't seen your neighbors under shelters with minimal coverage, minimal protection, you don't feel the way I feel about this particular project. Because I know that having a hub somewhere where it's accessible in a community, it also gives that necessary facelift, if you will, to that particular area. It looks like there's improvement coming, right? When you bring newness to an area, it looks like there's improvement. It looks like there's investment. It looks like there's care. And so that's why I'm so excited. And a lot of people are excited about this and other projects that are coming.
So what's coming? What's coming? So folk can know what to look forward to.
So what's coming is the proposed referendum gave Southside a transit center. And the transit center is not like the one downtown. Okay, this is not that one. Okay, this will just be an area and space that will be utilized solely as a gathering place for people to catch a bus where they need to go. It don't just impact Southside, it impacts Southside, Frenchtown, and anywhere else where people would need to go in the city. But it's a hub center for them to get accessibility transportation. But the most important part of this isn't just the visible stop in the Southside, it's the reinvigoration of neighborhood stops where we can have electric buses going through neighborhoods where Miss Wendy or our elder neighbor don't have to come to the main street. They can catch a bus right there, right? They can come and catch a bus right in their community, or they can send their baby, the grandbaby, go catch a bus right in their community. That is to me one of the most important aspects of this Southside Transit Center and other transit modifications that are coming. So the city is doing a study. They're also at the grassroots of getting the community involved in the conversation, which hardly ever happens. Right. Usually by the time they come to the community, there's already what? A drawing.
Right. Yep. Decisions already made. Right? Yep.
They already got their minds made up. We are at the beginning of the conversation. So that means that, of course, there's a bunch of bureaucratic processes. Some things we ain't going to be able to have at this time, right? Because they won't allow it, right?
Right.
But we'll be at the forefront of learning through the process, learning transportation, giving input into where stops should be at that are connected to the. I am more excited about this because the community has a chance to learn through this investment in a meaningful way and give input where it's necessary. So this project, along with now the project they're doing across the street, the Orange Meridian Community Park, these are investments that bring value. And I get accused sometimes of seeing things from always the real estate side, but that's where the side of value is. Yeah. That's where the catalytic aspect is. I can't keep seeing it the way that you see it as a dope place, as a this. I'm not going to see that. I see the value and potential of where I live. I love my community.
Because once we get that, then other businesses will be attracted to the area. It don't make no sense that we don't have a grocery store on the South Monroe, Orange Avenue corridor. You know, it makes no sense that it's a food desert in our community. So when we fix things up, when we show that we're willing to invest in that, other businesses will see the viability too. Am I on the right track with that?
And what retail comes with businesses that come to an area?
I would say commerce, money, traffic. Yeah.
Jobs.
Yes.
Opportunity.
Yeah. All the above.
I ain't gonna bring up nothing old because they know what I bring up. But when you bring folks here, when you bring 1,000 people to an area, right?
Right.
You bring 1,000 people that work here for whatever reason through the day. That's 1,000 opportunities for the bread man to sell them.
Exactly.
That's 1,000 opportunities for a dry cleaner to get some work.
Exactly.
That's 1,000 opportunities for them to engage and be able to have economic events happening at their places.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of I-10 we have. We can't get an I-10 interchange here. So we have to build I-10 culturally and economically here ourselves, and that comes with championing projects that bring an influx of folks and jobs and opportunities to the area. And so the questions I would be asking Star Metro or any of these other developments are, what's going to be your minority inclusion value for these projects? What's going to be your outreach to Black and brown businesses to be able to get opportunity to be able to benefit from these contracts? We have an awesome Daryl Jones, awesome and motivated to get African American businesses, Black businesses, American businesses that are Black, that's owned by Black folks, into the door for opportunity. We've got to think strategic. We can't be angry. We gotta be tactical. We gotta be strategic. And opportunity is something we gotta be ready for. So yes, we have to think the right way about these projects and not be thinking emotionally or thinking based upon what you see. Ain't nothing but this gonna happen there. Ain't nothing but you don't know that.
Yeah.
Join the conversation and let's make it happen.
And what I've become aware of in leadership, and I've been in leadership over half my life, but even more so in a community space, historically, we have always had to drag the majority of our people kicking and screaming into freedom. Remember, God's people did not want to leave Egypt. They murmured, and even in the Middle Passage and even in the Promised Land, they still murmured and complained the whole way. And so I'm committed, just as I know you are committed to doing this, but you're going to have to do it with minority support. You're going to have to do it with not the majority can see it, they can't translate it, they can't get it, but they will experience the benefits of it. Culture is hard to change. Mindsets are hard to change, but that's not going to be my reason for not doing it, because I realize that the Savior that I serve, he did it with a minority of people in terms of the mass numbers versus who decided to follow or whatever. All of us are benefiting from the work of a minority. There were slaves who told Harriet, nah, I'm good. I ain't about to be out here dying. They told Martin, they told Malcolm, they told all of our leaders, calm down. You're going to get us killed. Like, it's always been this pushback, of we can do it versus, no, we don't need to try that. So what I hear and what I appreciate, again, as I said in the beginning, is your passion and your determination to get it done and being well-versed on what the issues are, beyond emotionalism, beyond what the white man doing to us, but to be informed and to know for yourself what's actually going on and what some of that is fiction, what lies are being told versus what's actually going on. So I say all that to put you on the spot, as I did when we had breakfast last week, last Friday morning over at Early's Kitchen after the street naming event for my cousin Trudy Perkins and Robert Perkins. What's next for you? Because you cannot have this kind of insight and anointing, for that matter, and it not somehow you already leading. So let me be clear, like, you already leading, but sometimes you can't cook until you're in the kitchen. You at the table, but I'd say prophetically that we need you in the kitchen. So what's next for you? What has the Lord said? See how I spiritualize that. What has the Lord said to my sister about what is next for her?
I love to go to what the Lord done said. You know, I think for me, I'm at my next. I think that, you know, and let me just be really, really clear when I say I'm at my next. I think that it's taken me this long for what I have learned on the community level, what I have experienced on the community level, what I have been activated to accomplish on the community level, to get to this point where I understand my role on the community level. And it is to be a catalyst, and it is to be a step. And I mean that in the sincerest form. I don't know what position that would lead me into. I don't have any commitments to answer your question straight up. I don't have any commitments to run for public office at this time. So everybody that's watching the Man Cave, you heard it from me. You didn't hear it from the street to me.
That's what I'm trying to get out of you, because there's always rumors.
I don't have any commitments to run for public office at this time. Now, I do say that knowing that it's not off the table. So if you're going to be afraid, just go ahead and be that. And the deal is that I don't want to put myself in a position unless I know that that is what the people want. Because you and I are going to do what we're going to do regardless. It's not a situation where I got to be commissioner somebody or mayor somebody to be doing something, right? And I'm not saying that the ones in office have to be. You know, we have some extremely capable people who are learning their way and doing what they can and experimenting and having minor victories and having major ones. So I don't want to come across as being criticizing anyone. I do want to say that my dog in the background, y'all don't see that. I do want to say,
move that camera back over. Let me see that dog.
Family show. So I do want to say, I want to work and collaborate with people who really want to make some stuff happen. Like that, I can tell you 100% is where I am. My next is I want to see some things happen, and I'm ready to ride or die to make them happen. You know, I was telling you I had, a hood chick shirt on. It gives me tremendous power to wear my shirt, because there's power in knowing who you are. Right. And I don't want to be that person that's on when I'm talking to people. I want to be that person that's on it. Right. I don't want to be that person I got to flick on and flick off, and that's not who I am. But I do want to work with people and vibe with people who want to make things happen. I love my husband, because my husband, he don't care. He like, okay, where's the opportunity? What we're gonna do? Let's ride.
Let's get it.
I can vibe with them people. You same way. Oh, this is what you said. Okay, but when you gonna bring it? All right. Those are the folks that my next are going to involve, because it's gonna take those folks. It's gonna do it right. That's gonna do it in a way that is ethical, that speaks to the goodness and the righteousness of the truth of God as we believe it, and that's gonna be a blessing to His people and gonna be profitable. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm gonna be that one to be like, let's do everything and it's just for the community. Guess what? In all labor, there's profit.
That's correct.
It's gonna be profitable. One thing, I'm not sugarcoating it. My next is
you safe here.
Ready to get out there and make it happen. And I will work with anybody that want to make it happen. I'm not gonna work with people that's gonna pimp our folk emotionally, consensusly. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Can you back up just a little bit so we can see all of the hood chick, because the way, my executive producer has the screen set up, we can't really see the words, but y'all, just so y'all know, she got a hood chick shirt on. That's who she is. I got that on. I took that on. She's a Holy Ghost hood chick. Yes, she is. In Jesus' name. I got that on. So, I want to thank you for doing this. Time flies so much, flies so fast when we're talking community. I want to invite you back at another occasion, just so we can continue to build. You were our women's conference speaker, I guess, pre-pandemic. So that had to be about 3 years ago. And they're still being blessed by that. And you'll be back into that space as well. But there's so much more for you to do. And thank you for being who you are, genuine, authentic. I think there's great value in authenticity and the souls that are being impacted by that. The total person, mind, body, spirit, all of that, emotions, economics, all of that's been affected by just your presence and your conversation. Is there anything you want to say in closing of this Man Cave experience?
I want to invite everyone out to our next session on Star Metro. That'll be this Thursday. It'll start at about 6:30. It'll be really, really quick. It's about 45 minutes of engagement with the project up front. This is the start. So we want to make sure that people have a clear understanding of where it is, what it is, how it is, and what the process is rolling out from the gate. And also give folks who want to tune in to that an opportunity to invite the staff to come and talk to your constituency group, to be able to talk to your team or your church. And that's going to be at 6:30. I'll make sure that you have that information.
Yes.
In fact, I'll make sure that it's right up there on the screen for the viewers here.
Yes.
And make sure that it's emailed out so that we can get some good representation. That's the most important part right now, making sure that even if you don't agree, at least you know what's going on.
That's what's
and
up.
That your voice is, yes, and you can get some understanding because, we can't walk together unless there's understanding.
Absolutely.
And that is what I pray, for that unity through understanding to matriculate. And by God's grace, we become champions of our own community in a way that brings value and viability and vitality.
Wow. Well, this has been another edition of Man Cave Monday. She is Christic Henry, my light-skinned sister from another mister. Absolutely, my birthday twin. Shouts out July 27th. Ain't no other way to do it. Leos do it best. But thank you again for doing this. Y'all keep commenting, keep sharing this conversation. It's going to go a long ways to help and inform a whole lot of people. So until we meet again, we will see you guys soon. Thank you for watching. Tune in next week for another empowering conversation with another impactful person within our community context. Christy, you take care of yourself now. We'll see you soon.
Well, you bet. Thank you so much.
Yeah.